Right now the camera. Let me bring the light. I just see my outline for now. I don't think even if they're speaking, I can hear them because my audio is off for some reason. Not sure if it's because of this. Yeah, it was because of this. Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Hi everyone, this is Senthil from Drupal Community.
Reason this is turning off my audio. Oh yeah, you're right. I think the HDMI is. Okay. Yeah, maybe we can do that. Yes. What? Fix the left of it. Sorry? Pick what, the laptop? Okay, fine. But you want a laptop?
Hi Hussain,
Hi, who is this? Who am I talking to?
this is Senthil Kumar from Innopal Technologies.
Senthil.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, fine. What about you?
I'm okay. I'm good.
Okay. How is Deepavali? How was that?
Yeah, I had fun. I came here for a family vacation.
Okay, great. Okay. So here, 12 members available here to for the session.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, here 12 members are joined for this session.
Oh, okay, cool.
Great.
Okay. All right, we're just setting up another laptop here. We're trying to figure out the projector.
Okay.
We'll get started. Like while that is being done, let me introduce myself. Okay.
His Hussain, one of the top contributor in India, and I met him first time in Drupal from Asia. He got a Royal Enfield.
Okay, yeah, that's how people get
First, then you can see the Drupal page of Hussain, who have contributed a lot in Drupal.org. So, I think the companies what we have worked for is Blistering, okay, and some of it, and the industries is SEO, and here's his own blog where you can see a couple of good articles and knowledge sharing there. He has an experience of 9 years. So,
I guess that's like a year old.
Currently, he is printed on more than
Maybe just mute.
Hi Hussain, is there any option to record this video call?
I think YouTube does that by default.
Yeah, we'll share you the URL once it gets posted in the channel.
That by default, it's like it's live video and then it stays on YouTube forever.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah. So if there are any mistakes I make today, it'll be very embarrassing.
Okay.
And here's more than 65 credits currently for past 3 months in Drupal. This shows that he's a full-time contributor, which contributes a lot to Drupal. So, up to you.
Okay, thank you. That sounds actually a lot more flattering than things actually are. Okay, so thanks for that, by the way. And then let's talk about like what we'll cover today. I didn't come with any specific plan, so I'm kind of open, kind of flexible. How do we go from here? I'm hoping that I'm hoping for this to be the structure. I'll talk a bit about Composer today, and from that, many of you have worked with Drupal 8, or you're working with Drupal 8 right now, and you might have used Composer in those bits. So I would like to hear about your feedback as well. Like how have you found it useful, if at all, or if you have used Composer with Drupal 7 also. It's of course it's possible. So. Okay. So can anyone, let me put it as a question. Have you used Composer?
Yeah. I found it's more helpful for the dependency installations.
Okay. What kind of dependencies do you have usually when you do?
For example, if you are using Apache Solar, so it's a Solarium is the dependency for it. So we used to use the command composer with Apache Solar.
Okay.
So it installs the Solarium dependency.
Okay. That's quite succinct. It's a dependency manager, and it'll take. Okay, I guess the slides will take a little time to come up. But this actually the whole video, this whole session I had done this in DrupalCon Baltimore. It's still recorded. You can go through that. A live demo over here. I have Composer installed, and you can see it on that also, I guess, right? I'll just start sharing my screen, and we'll work through it. So, like Anish said, right? Anish, like I'm very bad with names. I'm so sorry. Like Anish said, it's a dependency management, dependency manager, and package manager. What is a package manager? Usually, chances are you have used a package manager as well. Any ideas? No. Okay. So dependency manager. Okay. Anyone from here from any other background like Node.js or Ruby? Any other technologies if you used?
No, not exactly, but just got a chance to work with Angular tone.
Okay. Did you use? You must have used NPM along with that.
Yeah, it's not package manager.
Right. So NPM it's very very similar. It's what is in the Node world. It's the equivalent of Composer in Node world. Or typically Composer is the equivalent of NPM in the PHP world because like Composer came afterwards. Okay. So a little bit like just for the sake of pure history. Okay, it came up. The slides came up. So once again, I'll just start sharing here and we'll. You can see the screen there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing everyone on the Hangouts also can see the screen. So I'll just walk through very quickly. It is from Baltimore. So Okay, do you still see it?
Yes.
Like the full screen? Okay. So, yeah, we'll talk about what a dependency manager does. So, the conventional way, what you do right now, you're building websites, right? You're building Drupal websites. And what you would be doing is, if you want to install a module, you'll go to the module page, download it, and put it in the correct location, correct? Right? And of course, chances are you're not actually doing that. You're going to use Drush, right? Something like what you see right now on the screen. Drush DL views, then you get the views ready in your package, in your website. All you have to do is enable the module now, and the job is done, right? And someone has a question.
Sure.
Okay, it's not sharing that. Let me start again. Okay, inception, what people usually call means keynote. You can see the screen now? Yeah. This is your regular workflow with Drush. You download the module and you enable it, like you see on the screen right now. You run Drush en-y. It also downloads ctools and all that. So one thing to understand over here is that, like it says on the screen, views requires ctools. You can see that over here, right? So there is a dependency. You're only interested in views. You're not interested in ctools. But when you download views, or when you in Drush case, when you enable views, it sees that okay, it needs ctools, and it goes and downloads ctools. This is dependency management. Now, the way Drush did it was not really reusable. As in, what you would have to do here is that the chances are that's what you're doing right now. That you download views, you commit the entire views model to your repository. Correct? This is not a typical practice in the IT industry, at least in many cases. In many other technologies, nobody commits dependencies. Your repository is supposed to be just containing your work. You have not written views. There's no reason why views should be in the repository, or why ctools should be in the repository, or why even Drupal should be in the repository. Right? With Drush kind of workflow, you don't really have that. Of course, you have Drush make, okay, and you can get to it to some extent, but there are some flaws. We will talk about that. But what we have come across Drush make? To use Drush make? No. It's deprecated now. It still works for Drupal.
मुझे ये होटल रूम बहुत पसंद है और श्रीमानों के साथ में उसे यहाँ बुक कर सकता और जब मैंने उसे यहाँ बुक किया
Let's I'm not sure if you know this. Okay, so Drush make, you can see on the screen right now, right? That it basically lists all the modules that you need. You download all those modules, place it in the correct location. So now, you can use CI pipelines, continuous integration. What hosting provider do you use? Actually, where do you host websites? Okay, so you use Axelerant, right? And are you familiar with Axelerant pipelines? Axelerant pipelines is still in beta, so Axelerant does not really have a strong CI pipeline. Pipelines is a good effort, but not really there. What many people do is have CI pipelines of their own. So, for example, in Axelerant we have used GitLab. Consequently, we also use GitLab CI. So as soon as we push something, there is a series of tasks that get executed, and maybe I can actually demo that to you a little bit later on. But so there is this pipeline which will run a sequence of tasks. One of those tasks is to run Composer install, but it could as well be Drush make. So you don't commit any of this Drupal or any of these modules in the repository. When you push your changes and creates a package that can deploy something. Okay, so that's Drush make. Now there are some problems over here. As long as you use like proper versions, you're fine. Like if you're using, you can see over here, you know, like I'm using address field 1.2, 0.0 RC5, you're fine with that. But if you're using dev releases of some modules, there's no guarantee you get the same thing every time. You know, dev releases, they keep changing, right? So whenever you download a dev release, chances are you'll get a new one. You can't really lock it to a particular release point of time. So there is this problem with Drush make, so going to be very useful to us. And anyway, you know, PHP kind of settled on Composer anyway. So, like I said, you know, NPM and Bundler, they are dependency managers. NPM is from Node.js world, Bundler is from Ruby world. Right? So they do something which is very, very similar to what Composer is. Okay. So, yeah, you know, those who have worked with Drupal, you might have seen a Composer of JSON in the code so far. Will you open it by any chance and see what it contains? Okay. Like something given by any particular dependency? No? Any ideas? So, I have some examples, of course. You know. So, like I said earlier, you know, the dependencies are not your application. You shouldn't. That should be left on its CI pipeline. So, Composer is two things in here. One is it's a dependency manager. I've been telling you this quite some time. But you define a list of dependencies that your site uses, and it tracks that. We'll see how it's. And it's also autoloader. Anyone familiar with autoloader? No? Autoloading in PHP? So, you might be familiar with, you know, the syntax of requirements, implementations, right? You know that. So, whenever you're using a class in PHP, right, your class might be in a different file, right? Now, when you're using the class, the file should have loaded before that, correct? It's true for anything, even if you're using a function, if the function is in a different file, you have to include that first. So if you're writing a Drupal 7 module, you know, there is a function called module load include. You would have seen that, which loads that. It's actually a wrapper on require once. You know, it ultimately calls require once with that particular file. So you have to remember that, you know, when you want a class, you have to remember to call require once on the class. Simple. But you've seen Drupal 8 code base, right? Yeah, like there are like tens of thousands of classes. Correct. You might have seen. How can you keep writing requirements on each and every class your file is going to be used? It's generally not a good practice. I mean, you can't even remember. It's not even feasible to do that. And you know, if you work with Drupal 8, you've seen that you're not really doing that either. Right? So the reason is that PHP supports something called an autoloader. Okay, it's technically it's part of SPL, but you can say it's PHP. And Composer also provides an autoloader on top of it. You know, there are conventions called there's a convention called PSR4. Anyone heard of PSR4? PSR0. You have? I'm sorry.
Standard.
Yeah, it's a standard. That's right. It's a standard. It's an autoloading standard, which basically defines that how the autoloader will work. So it says if a class has such a name, you know, PHP classes can have namespaces. So the namespaces will be translated to directory structure, and basically that's how you write your modules. You know, you have to follow a convention. You know, if you're writing a class in a module, you have to put it in a particular path, right? It has to match your namespace. That's what PSR4 says, right? So the actual job of loading these classes is done by an autoloader. Composer has an autoloader. It supports PSR0, it supports PSR4. It supports class map based autoloading. It can just load files whenever. There are a bunch of autoloading. As far as Drupal is concerned, PSR4 is what we use. We'll just stick to that. What this means is that you can't just use it like Drush. So in your Drush workflow right now, you would download views, you'd commit it, and then it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that you use Drush to download it. You might have downloaded it manually, from the web, and it would be the same thing. But with Composer, it's not the same thing. With Composer, you have to use the workflow from beginning to end. You start off with a Composer JSON file, and if you're including modules with Composer, you have to keep on using that. Right. So the next time you include a module, you're better off. You can directly put it, as long as it's a module, it will work. But certain modules have to be registered with Composer. Like Commerce. You work with Drupal Commerce? Okay, so Drupal Commerce was one of the first modules that made Composer compulsory. Actually, they have an alternative now, because people find it hard to get used to Composer. So they have an alternative now as well. But yeah, essentially, it's better off. It's just easier for you to learn Composer and understand how it works rather than use Ludwig, in my opinion. Okay, so we will see some examples, and hopefully that will clarify it a bit for you, like what exactly it looks like. Okay, so this is all you have to do. If you're working on a site right now, so you might be doing something like Drush DL Drupal, to start a new site. This is the equivalent of that in Composer. Composer requires Drupal/Drupal, but this is not the recommended way. I come to that. Okay, so let's understand where the packages come from. So when you use Drush DL views, how does it know what is views? Any ideas? Or anything, Drush DL panels, Drush DLC tools. How does it know where it will find this module? There's only one place really. It will go and search it on Drupal.org. There's only one place. So similarly for Composer, there is only one place by default, and that's called packages.org. This is where it looks. So when you type Composer required Drupal/Drupal or Drupal/core, it's going to look at packages.org. Now there are thousands of Drupal modules. You can't start putting everything on packages. Actually, they tried, and the person who maintains packages even offered to set up a migration path, like automatically bring all Drupal modules in packages, but it was too much work. Able to maintain that anyway. So we set up our own packages at Drupal.org, packages.drupal.org. That's where you will find all the models. So whenever you, like you said, if you want to use Solar, you're going to use Drupal/Apache Solar. So on packages.org, there's no definition of Drupal/Apache Solar, but it's there on packages.drupal.org, and that's where it finds. So again, this is better explained with an example. So we'll come to that. I'll just skip over all the slides. So yeah, this is what the command I used in the demo when I did this presentation, but I have a better one now. Yeah, so this is what most of the community uses right now. You type out this command. There is a Drupal Composer project on GitHub. This command, it'll download Drupal and it'll give you a whole complete Composer-based setup of Drupal. We'll actually do this live over here. So this is how it looks. This is like it's installing dependency after another. You can see that things like Doctrine, Symfony, various Symfony components. So now, once this setup is done, you want to install PathAuto, you just do Composer required Drupal/PathAuto, like you can see on the screen right now, and that will install dependencies as well. Like see, for example, installing token. PathAuto needs token, so it's installing token, and then it will eventually install PathAuto, C tools, and then PathAuto. So Conceptually, it's not very different from Brush, but this is like a better standard we are moving towards because Brush is Drupal specific. Composer, the entire PHP community is using it. So yeah, it's like a learning. There's a learning grab, but yeah, it's like you have to keep learning all the time, right? Okay, so this is what the structure looks like of a Drupal 8 setup. See, all your Drupal files are in a directory called web. Okay, and then there are some other files like scripts and vendor and all that. So vendor is the PHP dependencies that Drupal uses. Okay, they all go into vendor. That's the convention that Composer follows. All your dependencies go into vendor, but Drupal works a certain way. It's supposed to be in modules, and one of the subdirectories. Theme should be in that directory. So you still follow the convention, and that works. That works out of the box. There is a setting that makes it work like that. So when you say Drupal/pathauto, sorry, it doesn't go in vendor. And the package you used, Composer Create Project, the one you see over here, Drupal Composer, that takes care of making sure all the settings are correct. So this is what the Composer JSON looks like. We'll actually see a live one, so I'll just skip this. I'll just talk about semantic versioning and version constraints. You have come across semantic versioning anyway? Okay, so it basically, okay, let me put it this way. Drupal 8 release cycle now? Are you familiar with that? Like we just had 8.4 recently, right? And we'll have 8.5 6 months from now. And between that, we'll have 8.4.1, 0.2.3, how many ever we are going to have. So,
Is this semantic?
Yeah, this is semantic versioning. Drupal 8 is semantically versioned. So what it says is that the minor version, so 8.4 is a minor version. The 0.4 part of it is a minor version. Features in minor versions? Sorry? No, you can even add features. You can add new features in those versions, but you cannot break backwards compatibility. Aside with Drupal 8.3, you can easily update to 8.4. It's not so easy in practice, but theoretically, yeah. Your APIs are all broken at least. Same thing, from 8.2 to 8.3, they're all backwards compatible. Okay, but 8.3 brought in new features. 8.4 brought in new features. Now 8.4.1 will only have patches, bug fixes. It won't have new features. So that is what semantic versioning means. And yeah, so in Drupal 9, so that of course comes with new features, but also there's no promise of backward compatibility. There are API breaks. So there is actually a blog post by Dries on this subject, which the point of how this is going to work. So you can read that. Very useful. But in a nutshell, so when we get to Drupal 9, so right now all the backward compatibility layers we have in Drupal 8, we actually have quite a lot. We have changed a lot of APIs, but we can't remove that because we have the semantic versioning promise. So we won't remove all those APIs. We'll just deprecate them. In 9, we'll remove all of those deprecated APIs. We'll not keep single one of them with its own new features. That's always there. Okay. So how do you? How is this useful, semantic versioning to you? So if you remember in Drushmake, you had to specify the exact version, like address field. If you remember, it was 1.2. Now you don't care about that, right? I mean, you're just using one address field, and you're fine with any 1. Version. You're fine. So you can in Composer you can specify something like this tilde 1.0. Actually, the recommendation now is to use caret 1.0. It's not tilde. There are times you can use tilde. I'll tell you what it means. Or you can use 8.3.star. So now 8.3.star is simple enough. So it'll download the latest version in 8.3. So if it's 8.3.6, it'll download that. It'll download the latest one by default. You can override that, of course. There are so the idea is that when Drupal 8.3.7 comes out and you run Composer update, it'll get the latest version. You don't have to go and check each version individually. You just have to run Composer update and it'll do the job. And 1.0 also means something similar. It means 1 star. Actually, there is a better way to demonstrate that, and I'll just do that. The recommended way of the second one you see, the second example you see, the caret 8.2.8. That's the recommended way of specifying the versions, and I'll tell you how it means, or like what it means. Okay, so before we go to that, one last word about Composer lock. So whenever you run Composer install, it downloads like a particular set of versions, right? So it might have downloaded Drupal 8, 8.3.6, and panels 4.0, 4.1. Now, when you run Composer install on actual production server, I mean, you may not run it on production server, but whatever, you may be running it on a CI server. So when you actually run it on a CI server, it will pick up the latest versions. Now that's a problem, because you're not really tested it with those versions, right? I mean, it may break. I mean, yeah, there is a promise of semantic versioning and all that, but software, right? It's bound to have bugs. So how do you ensure that it keeps the same code that you tested it with? And that's what the log file does. So when you run Composer install on your machine, whatever versions it downloads, it creates a log file mentioning the exact versions. So if you download Drupal core 8.3.6, it will actually mention that. And you commit the composer.log file as well. Along with composer.json, you also commit the composer log file. So when you run this, so when on the CI server you run composer install, it will look, okay, there's a composer log file. It will actually download those versions. Version screens and like the version constraints anymore. If there is a log file, it will use the log file. Only in case of composer update, it will ignore the log file and actually try to find the latest version. Okay, patches, I think we'll just look at it, and all these things are a little advanced. Okay. Can you see this terminal? Yeah. So I have. Yeah. So I had mentioned that composer create project command and all that, but actually I've been working on something else recently. There is a better way to handle this. So let me get rid of all of these things. Okay, this is readable, right? You can see this. Right? So I'll not go over the. Okay, I might as well go over the installation. Package called Drupal init, and it's on packagist. You can see it. Another Chrome. Yeah, so this is what I've been working with Drupal Composer init. Okay, so if you search for this package, you'll find the instructions over here. I know it's very small. Yeah, so you can see Composer global require. This is how you install this package. So it's a one-time thing. You just have to install it once on your machine. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this correctly this time. Okay, and I'm going to paste it here. So now it's not going to do anything because I already have it installed. But this is how it will look over here, and it really depends on internet connection. So let's see how much time it takes. So I mentioned, composer commands like composer require, composer install, and all that. You might see that there is a global prefix over here. I'm saying composer global require. So Composer supports like kind of like a system-wide packages thing. You know that they are in your home directory, and if it's a plugin, they're loaded for all the other Composer runs you do. So this is actually a plugin. Drupal Composer Init, it's a plugin. So it will be loaded whenever you run Composer anytime from any other place because it's global to your system. It can also be things like PHP code sniffer. Have you used that? Yeah. So PHP CS and all that. It can also be the Drush, for example. You know, you can install Drush using Composer Global Require. Drush/Drush. Okay, it's taking very long.
So there's a quick question here. Why can't we install everything globally? We should have a pet project Composer dependency. Actually, if we install globally, we will avoid duplication. Why are we not installing globally?
Specific version.
Redundancy. So let us say that your project A requires address field 1.2. Project B requires address field 2.2. So you want to download only those specific. I mean, this is independent of Composer. It exists in all languages and frameworks and ecosystems. You have a package manager. You have a file which specifies what packages you have to download for that project. And then you have a lock file. Different things in different languages and frameworks.
Okay, so like after a long operation, it said nothing to install or update because it's already installed. Okay, so what this command actually does, it provides a command called Composer Drupal Init. Okay, so when you run this, the command you saw your Composer create project, it will let you create that interactively and actually with some improvements. Okay, so package name, I'll just leave it. It doesn't matter for projects. It only matters if you're going to publish this package. So in that case, you would want to give it something. By default, it's saying it's HW Drupal test. Just fine with me. Description, okay, Drupal 8 website. Or I'm going to skip it. Minimum stability. So Composer JSON, you know, when it's actually going to filter out the versions, it look at the stability. Okay, and by default it is stable. The code base, the dependencies Drupal has requires dev stability. So like a lot of Drupal 8 modules are still in dev releases, or they're in beta releases at least. So by default, that's why it's dev over here. For PHP projects, people just go with stable as minimum stability because you do that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't have a choice over here. You know, you would still do that if you had a choice. So that's the reason I kept it dev as default. License, it's empty, and this lets you specify what directory you want to serve it out. You know, like many hosting providers use web as a convention. Acquia uses the doc root as a convention, so you can actually say, okay, I want it in doc root instead of web. You know, so okay, and you can specify which distribution you want to start off with. You know, so go with a simple Drupal core, or you can take like what or Acquia Lightning or anything you want. Right. So okay, Lightning is fine. Lightning, I can specify that. Because Acquia Lightning has some other dependencies. So if you're going to use a description like a distribution like that, it's better off following the instructions over there. So Acquia Lightning has their own project. So you have a command like Composer create project Acquia/Lightning.
This is something like installation.
Acquia Lightning? Yeah, it's a distribution itself, entire distribution. The reason it won't work right now is that it needs some other repositories. So what this does, the script I'm running, I'll show you the Composer JSON out of it. So we'll get to that. So now I can even define some modules if I want to. So okay, let's say I want to add panels. So I type Drupal/panels. and latest version is fine. So it's using version 4.2. It's 8.x-4.2. That's enough for now. And required dev. So you can put like develop related modules over here, like Drupal slash devel. Yeah, so I'll put something like this, the Drupal slash devel over here. It's fine. That's it. So it's asking me to confirm the generation. I say yes. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so you can see that actually it has put in a lot of the other packages, which are very common in working with Drupal 8. So you can see there is a patches, composer patches plugin, patch thing. So like in BrushMake, you could specify patches as well. So if you're not, suppose you want to patch your Drupal or particular module, how do you do that? You're not going to version them anymore, right? You're not going to have them in version control. So you actually specify patches in the Composer JSON file itself. So when Composer install runs, it downloads the module and then it patches it also. Getting ahead of ourselves. There are some of the plugins you can see, Hussain Web / Drupal Composer Help, but that's again something I wrote to like minimize like a lot of boilerplate code which was there in the Drupal project. Then there's Aquelerant Lightning which we used, Rush, and the panels. Panels I specify. Similarly required dev. This is things which is out of the Drupal Composer project. I just left it there so people will have an easier time to transition. That's all. There is no reason to have Mink and all that unless you're using it. Of course, then you put it in. So yeah, this is the thing. I said earlier that it's only packages.org by default. We over here in this repository section, other packages, other repositories. So we are using packages.drupal.org/8, which is the official packages Drupal packages. I said, Aquelerant Lightning, it won't work right now. If I type Composer install, it won't work right now because it requires some packages which are there in some other repositories. There are like tons of repositories, so it's in one of them. Minimum stability, like I said, we set it to dev. Over here in extra, there are like few other custom things you can do. So again, if you've used Drupal Composer project, you might have seen something called installer paths. I told earlier that if you say Drupal / panels, it goes into the modules directory. Composer detects it, and it puts it in modules directory, not in vendor. So that is actually done by a package called okay. And what it means is you specify the mapping in this extra. So all of this I found was like kind of a lot of work to have it in each and every Composer JSON file. Our usual use case is that we have a directory where we want to put all of these, like where we put the Drupal core, and then it's a convention, right? That if the directory is doc-root in this case, your modules will be in doc-root/modules, right? Your themes will be in doc-root/themes. So that's a convention. You don't really need to do anything more, anything else over here. So the plugin I said earlier, Drupal Composer Helper, that kind of automates all these things. So all you need to do is tell it which directory you want to put Drupal in. So this is the command web prefix doc-root, and it also supports Drupal 7, by the way. So there is another attribute you have to set called set d7 paths, and if you set that to true, it will actually set it to doc-root/sites/all/modules. So it supports Drupal 7 as well. Okay, and prefer stable true. That's again a Composer flag. All of these are Composer configuration, all that sort packages, optimize autoloader. So it's like it's giving you like an opinionated version of Composer.json for your Drupal project. Of course, you can change whatever you want over here. So I'm going to change, like I said, Aquelerant Lightning is not going to work. Change this to Drupal/core. Okay, that would have been the default anyway. So now all I have to do is run Composer install, and this will take time again.
Biggest advantage for using this kind of a workflow is your code base is very, you just have the composer JSON file, the composer log file for freezing all the dependencies. Both these files. Every time you want to create a new environment, you just check it out, run composer install, that's it. So what downsides do you see with this? You got my question. It's unlike any conventional Drupal project where you don't put all the modules and themes and everything into the code base. Your code base is usually linear. You can do like a few files, if you go to your version control. Every time you want to create an environment, you will have to run composer install and download all the dependencies. That's the only downside. We have tools to counter those problems.
So composer install actually that's the biggest has, because it's very slow on particular connections. Right now you can see it's quite slow. It's not even started the install process. It's still resolving all the dependencies, and Drupal has a huge chain of dependencies, so it takes time. One of the disadvantages over here.
I remember seeing a tool where they cache all the.
It's cached, but the version resolution. The version resolution takes time over here. So once the version resolution is done, it'll download everything quickly. So because the version resolution takes time because it will hit packages for each package. So now it's actually very quick. Things that it needs to. Most of it is from cache. You can see. So this version resolution does not happen every time, by the way. So like I said, we only had the composer JSON. Now I've run composer install. It will create a composer log. So you can see the last line. It says writing log file. It has written a composer JSON file by now. And so the downloading thing you see, so there is a thing called Drupal scaffolding. So Drupal is not just a dependency, but it also has this settings.php file, right? And what else? The modules directory, the profiles directory, and all that. So will actually download all those files like default.settings.php and all that. It'll set all of that up. And then again, my plugin will create the settings.php based on default.settings.php. It'll just copy it and set some config sync directory. So like by the end of composer install, you don't have to worry about anything. You have a complete Drupal installation. It's not like it's done. I have further plans. So now, right now, if you see, these are the files right now: composer JSON, composer log, doc.root, and vendor. Right. So you're not going to commit. In doc.root as well, you're not going to commit code directly, but other files are going to commit, like index.php, autoload.php, all that. That's what we call as the front file, the front-facing file or something. And you're probably going to edit that, like robots.txt. You're probably going to edit that. So those will be in your repository. So there is again a git ignore configuration, which is very, very common, and I'm not generating that right now. One of my plans for the future updates, I'll be generating git ignore as well, and many other things around all of these things. So now you see it has actually generated. It has downloaded this Drupal and everything, and all I need to do is install it. Except I should be putting it in a virtual machine to install. I don't run servers on my machine. So there's another shell script I wrote some time back. I don't really.
Would it make sense to generate a Docker compose file also?
That's the plan I have. So actually, the shell script I'm not really promoting that much because now the convention is to even include Drupal. You might have used Drupal VM. Have you used Drupal VM? No. Okay.
How do you set up local environments? You just put it in HT docs and then run the Drupal install everything. It's very good. One of our project we are using Docker. I have a clarification on that. So how will we will be managing the environment across dev staging? So we will be having whatever setup is, we will be rebuilding the container on each push. So it will have an image. So this will mention the preserved directory. For example, core vendor or preserved directories, and we will be having a separate. We'll be putting some of the composer comments. What are the modules we are using? We'll be adding the dependency installation comments. So whenever there is a push on stage environment, it will first build the image. You create a new image for every push.
Every push.
There's no one right. There are so many images. The image-based workflow suits well if you are using Docker in the latest changes as well. For example, if you're using Docker images in production to deploy, then that helps. There are the majority use cases we don't use Docker image in production. We just deploy in the latest tag in production, say in Acquia or Banks and wherever, and then you run it. So in those cases, you need not create a new image every time. You just mount that specific volumes which keep on changing in the composer and then just run the composer. There are so many.
But I mean, if you're going to use Acquia or something, then there is no point. Like Acquia doesn't support anything like this anyway. So if you're prepared to, work on the hosting yourself, build a whole, and that it's actually a lot more work than you can imagine. So if you're going to do all that, then you can think of image-based workflow. Like you would push all your changes in an image. It's not been done. I know companies that do this successfully, but it takes a lot of work.
Okay, hosting setup should support Docker and Docker.
So it's quite a while since I've run Vagrant up, so it's taking some time. Otherwise, actually, all of this is cached. It takes like 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Again, this is something that I'm not, the updated workflow is that you would have Drupal VM itself as a composer dependency. Yeah. So all you have to do is like composer install and immediately Vagrant up. There's a whole workflow that we use that smoothens out the whole thing. You want to get onboarded a project, you check it out and run Vagrant up. Composer install and Vagrant up. And you have a virtual machine running with it.
You can probably ask two options. You want to generate a Vagrant YAML file or Docker.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm actually thinking, would it make sense to do it in its own shell command? Because when I was writing this composer plugin, I based it off on the existing init command. So there is actually already there is a command called composer init, and that generates a plain composer JSON file. It actually asks the same questions I do. Most of them. It does not ask for Drupal core or distribution. Obviously, it just asks for your dependencies and all that. So I based off my command on that, and then I saw that the composer code base, especially the init command code base, which is. So I'm actually now thinking I should probably write a separate script altogether to do this. It would. That's again very heavy. I'm not decided yet that which path should I go. Should I go the composer path, like composer Drupal init, or should I have a separate command called Drupal init?
If you have the liberty of writing this scaffold in like UML or something, even Symphony.
Yeah, ultimately everything is in Symphony console. Actually, this is also Symphony console. So it's in Symphony console. Lumen also, all Laravel based commands are as well in Symphony console. this is taking time because it's such a long time since I've done this.
I think as developers, the major takeaway can be like automate setting up your local as much as possible.
Yeah.
And checking your local setup as part of your code. Dev production parity. You guys know what dev production parity is, right? Your development setup should be almost the same as production setup. If your production setup is a PHP 5.6 and you have the PHP 7 installed in your laptop, then that's a beautiful source of bugs.
You have that? You must have faced.
Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a dedicated warning in the production logs. And you get a phone call after that. So you want to avoid these. So what the VM or the Docker file does is it creates a new setup which is related to production. It doesn't matter whether you have a 7 installed on your laptop. It really doesn't matter. I don't have PHP installed on my laptop.
Same here. No servers on my laptop. That's why to show Drupal installation, I have to spin up a VM for that reason.
I don't have Apache installed. I don't have MySQL installed. I mean, I used to do it like 3-4 years ago, but now I don't have anything. It's just everything is an image or a specification which spins a new instance of that.
And actually, Docker is much quicker than this. It is taking so much time. Docker, it just downloads an image and it immediately spins it.
It's a more lightweight version. You can go either way. I would recommend Docker. Or Docker for Drupal. It helps you set up your own Docker-based Drupal setup.
I found a Docker-based Drupal setup that I would. The examples out there are they mix Apache and PHP FPM in one container.
Yes.
I'd rather they be in different containers.
Because it's a microservice.
Yeah, this is more like relevant to like how you would build Docker applications. But the reason I'm still sticking with Vagrant and why I promote Vagrant at Axelerant as well is I'm not really come across a Docker setup that I really like this way. So we use platform.sh for our internal testing, and they do this internally. They have this container setup themselves, but they don't release those containers anyway. So it doesn't mean we can't really use that anyway. So we just stick with the Vagrant setups that's kind of matured. The only reason we're using it is it's matured. It's not. It's in most cases it's going to work. You can just commit all this Vagrant file and everything in your repository, and you don't have to worry about it, and it's going to work. It's not that mature. I mean, at least as far as Drupal is concerned, Docker itself is mature. The Drupal packages are not that mature. We are actually considering something called Lando for that. Maybe that will solve this thing. Still have to try that out. I'm hoping it does. I mean, it looks promising.
Yeah, it's from the same way to design
Colorbox, yeah.
So try your Dockerizing app. What a project you will.
It's for the sample project.
Project, okay. It's very easy. A little more easy than it looks.
This is true with anything. I mean, I see your faces right now, and it seems like you're not getting anything. The only difference is that you have to try this yourself. Just try it out. There's nothing to it. It's all very simple. It takes 5 minutes. It's taking long, much longer than that. But that's really it. What I had for there was one more thing I wanted to show about the semantic versioning. Okay, can't find the URL. Well, here it is. So this is a nice visualization of what your version constraints actually mean. So let's pick something like /core. So this is the default. Can you? Yeah. I'll stop and start sharing again. Okay, I'll have to start sharing again. Come on. Can you see this? Yeah. So I'm using this Drupal/core. The fonts are really great. But so just use Drupal/core as an example. And if your version constraint is 8.4, what does it mean? Okay. So you can see from the list below, it's only 8.4.0 that can be selected. It is stable. If your minimum stability is dev, all of these can be selected. Okay. It basically means when you say caret, so this character you see, like that angle. 8.4, when you write that, it basically means anything greater than 8.4. As far as semantic versioning rules are followed. So, so suppose if I write 8.3, you'll pick up anything in 8.3. You can see over here 8.3 alpha. The whole 8.3 release cycle 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then of course 8.4 and 8.5. So anything greater than 8.3, it's going to pick. Now if I say 8.3 dot greater than 8.3.5. Okay. But it's not going to pick 9. It's not going to pick 9. It's not going to pick Drupal 9. Because like I said, it breaks backward compatibility. Okay. So if you wanted like purely anything greater than 8.3.5, you could write 8.3.5 greater than equal to 8.5. It's the same thing here because there is no 9 here. There's no Drupal 9 yet. Let's use another popular library, so that we can play with more examples. PHP unit. Right now it's 6.4. Suppose I say greater than 5.7. It will pick anything from 5.7.1 to 6.5, which is the latest thing, right? But you don't want that. 6.x series is probably going to break something, So that is when you would say caret. It's going to take 5.7. Then the last version in 5. Like 5. Anything, it could be 5.8, 5.9. It will pick the last version.
Okay, this is the reason why we have a long file.
Yeah. Right. So now you can say tilde is also very similar to this. It's actually the same thing in this case. It's a very subtle difference. If I say tilde 5.5, again it's going from 5.5.0 to 5.7. But if I say 5.5.0 tilde 5.5.0, it's going to pick only 5.5.0 till the last version 5.5. It's not going to pick 5.6. It's going to stick in your minor versions. So suppose you want to upgrade from Drupal, like in Drupal 8.3, you want to upgrade till the last release, but not 8.4. You would say tilde 8.3.0, or like the example I showed, 8.3.star. Okay. But like I said, if the package is following, there's no real reason to do that. So suppose you're writing 5.5.4, right? And your constraint is that there was a bug fix in 5.5.4, which you need. So you can't pick 5.5.3. You need 5.5.4, but you're okay with 5.6, 5.7 also. Pick caret. It will pick anything from 5.5.4 till the last version in 5. So that is why it's a more recommended one. So like just use caret. If you're not sure, just use caret. It's not a very good idea to use the greater than sign thing, because it keeps going. There's no limit. Of course, you can then say less than 6, all that. Greater than 5.5.4, less than 6. But then you're better off using the caret 5.5. So use this website, semver.mwl.be, or you can just search like I did, Semver Composer, to figure out how these version constraints actually work. Okay, and this is how minimum stability also works. Because when I selected dev, it's highlighting dev packages. If it was stable as default, dev packages are not selected. Only the stable ones are selected. Right. So this is actually a very good visualization of what happens when you specify a version. So try this out. And actually, this is also done. I mean, just assume, just take it from me that once I have the machine running, I can install Drupal. It's going to work. It's just taking time. Otherwise, I would have shown it. Any questions?
Sorry for them.
Oh, yeah, sure. Anything other than this also is fine. Like I said, I didn't really come prepared with one topic. Any question, it's fine. If you're finding it difficult to use Composer, I'm actually trying out different applications. There is a thing called Composer Cat, and it supposedly makes it easier for you to work with Composer. I mean, I'm just usually a terminal guy, so I mean, I don't really prefer, but I try this out. So it's a desktop tool available for Windows, for Mac, for Linux, so you can try it. Sure about the Composer commands and all that. Just see. So like in my case, it's what's the shortcut? Okay, I can pick something else. So it shows all this. I can add new packages over here. It's like a UI to the Composer command line. I mean, I'd strongly suggest the command line if you can. But if you're not getting your hands around it, try this as well. It's called Composer Cat. Yeah, you can like pick license and all that. It's like a UI on the same thing that you can do from the command line. Okay, let's pick an action essentially. Based on a Drupal Composer setup. So you can see that there are a lot of dependencies, things like paragraphs, default content, entity queue, config split. And patches are defined over here in extra. So try it out.
I have a question in REST.
Okay.
Does it support for multi-part form data? So currently in Go we have JSON, XML, and R plus JSON is supported, right?
Yeah.
For post.
But that's serialization. You're talking about serialization, yeah. Okay.
So when I found for multi-part form data, it's not there. Is there any specific reason? Still, it's
okay. You're talking about submitting data as
files, whatever image files.
Okay.
through REST?
That's usually not covered under REST. And REST itself doesn't have a specification for that. You would upload files.
For it is policy using any company as a different document. Did you search in Drupal stack exchange?
Okay, thanks. Found that there's a issue too for that. But still it is not.
Well, I had a really difficult time figuring out how it works for self. I'm sure it was
It's possible using JSON, but the image data can be.
if you want to submit a file using REST, it's not very straightforward.
That's actually REST has no. That's because REST itself does not have any suggestions on doing that. Many people say that you upload the file separately. You have a separate endpoint to just upload the file, and then you get an ID back, and you use that ID in subsequent REST calls. But I mean, of course, it's not the best way to do things. So you can build it however you want.
But currently, it is possible using through binary database 64 serialized format image data. That can be
That's the workaround.
Yeah.
if it is a huge file. There is a recording of 30 minutes.
It's not, you cannot do it using
Yeah, that's
not
law.
Yeah, there's no answer because REST protocol itself does not have an answer for this. So you're on your own. Like implement whatever method you can makes sense to you. If you have to do the multi-part form thing, just have a separate endpoint that handles that and pass back an ID. The client can use in subsequent calls. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions online? Also, Karthik, Saranya, Yogesh.
I'd like to know how do you manage databases? Say, for example, you have a internal team and they have all the environments in the local instance. Okay. This one of the databases synchronized. They work on their local machine, but still all their updates goes every day.
Yeah. So it's a tricky problem. Again, you have to decide what works best for you. What we do is we create default content on installation. So if it's a very simple site, using all your configuration anyway, featureized. The problem is content. So we use things like default content or YAML content and all that. Find the initial content. So when you install the site, after the site is installed, all data also is present on the machine. Yeah.
How big is it? If it's very small, you can take a snapshot. We have a problem where our database is in 4 gigs. We try different approaches because there's a very big space. No, the problem is the compressed database was 4 gigs. If you uncompress it and put it,
That's not possible.
yeah, we don't install it in a local setup at all. Different things. The database in itself is a very big file. But if you convert it into a native,
One disk it was 70 GB.
Files is another problem.
Files is another. Files was not that much of a problem.
there's a one called file stage proxy.
Yeah.
Stage file proxy.
That resolves that.
Database, there are a lot of approaches. We even tried a very good approach where we, import it using MySQL and then put that volume as a Docker container and then load that container.
Each day when I build this class, I need to
We create a new image.
This has to go along with a strong CI workflow actually. If you want to automate this part, and if you really need the database, you can't automate it in like the default content or something. Database, then one workflow I've seen followed is that whenever, like on a daily basis, your API server could mirror the production database, out unnecessary stuff. So like you may not need all the data on the local instances. Yeah, and no, the download also is automated. So like we just saw a Drupal VM setup over here. It ran a series of Ansible tasks, right? So you can just have an Ansible task that will even pull the database from that location. So whenever someone is setting up a new site, coming back, yeah. Actually, I have the whole thing automated. It takes effort. I mean, if the effort is worth it to you, you can definitely do that. It's actually straightforward. All it takes is regularly mirroring databases. That's it. Yeah, and probably clean up in between. Otherwise, the files are huge. Production databases are huge otherwise.
So we have the configuration management.
Yes.
So if you are using the full export using Rush, is there any way to keep separate settings? Similar, if it is a site-specific settings.
Yeah, there is a model called config split. Split. Yeah. Just check that out. So what this allows you to do is that you can have different environments, environment stage, production, and all that. So you define filters. So these particular configuration settings won't get exported for dev, or it won't get exported for production. So you may specify a filter that says that for production environment, don't export anything related to devel. You don't want devel on production. You don't want dblog on production. So you can specify filters like that, and then you would use a different command. You would not use brush CIM or CEX. You would be using brush CSIM or CSEX. Those commands to export and import configuration. There are videos that will actually help you getting it set up. It's like just install the module, configure it, and use it. That's
What we have done is we have kept this configuration outside the files folder.
Yeah.
So this comes under version control. So that
right.
we get update. And when it goes for staging, right, all the Apache Solar settings which is in local, and the site-specific settings in local is getting exported. That's
right. So yeah, the config split will help. Like we are actually using that quite regularly, at least. Yes. We're actually working on some even more advanced use cases with config split, but I'm not directly working on it, so I don't really have anything to show on that. Okay, I think we can go to stop broadcast now. I think any questions, anyone? All on mute. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Okay, we're good. I'll stop broadcast now.